So we have now reached to session 3 of the leadership training workshop, and we have covered so far 2 of our sessions. So I'll just want to walk through, like, since we are midway of our leadership training workshop. So first we had like on February 18th, and that was on data analytics for decision support in traffic operations. That was led by Dr. Gwen. And then on February 19th, we had the session on entrepreneurial leadership, empowering the next generation of change makers. And that was led by Mr. Foreman. And today we have with us Ms. Kirby, who would be speaking on leadership legacy, driving impact through advocacy and strategic initiatives. So I would like to take a moment to introduce her, and then I'll give her the floor. So, Ms. Kirby joined the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials in July 2022 as Managing Director, Strategic Initiatives and Stakeholder Engagement. Nadji plays a pivotal role on the executive team in leading COMTO's strategic advisory services, NextGEN programs, and member engagement efforts. As lead as lead for COMTO's advisory services, Nadji works to apply the organization's 50 plus years of community engagement, workforce, and economic development expertise to address unique challenges in the public and private sector. Previously, she served as COMTO's Chief of Staff, where she supported the President and CEO in the managing the design and implementation and organizational strategies, programs, and initiatives. Before her tenure at COMTO, Nadji held various leadership roles in the transportation industry, focused on local and national initiatives aimed at improving the safety of vulnerable populations. Nadji has extensive experience in forging and nurturing important stakeholder relationships across multiple sectors, including community organizations, federal, state, and local government. Nadji is a passionate advocate for numerous charitable causes, including hunger alleviation, education, social welfare, and youth development. Nadji earned a master's in city and regional planning from Morgan State University and a Bachelor of Arts in International Business and Russian Studies from Eckerd College. So we welcome you, Ms. Kirby. Now the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamal, for the great introduction. And I will share screen. Can all of you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So again, good afternoon, everyone. So excited to be here to talk with you today about leadership legacy. And as Kamal said, I am as a leader, a member of our executive team. I lead kind of COMTO's strategic advisory services, our NextGEN programs, and our member engagement efforts. So first, I just want to take a quick minute for those who are not familiar, to tell you a little bit about COMTO. So COMTO is a 54-year-old organization that has a rich history of serving the transportation industry by ensuring transportation serves all. And at the leadership of this massive industry that transports all people all the time should reflect the complex mosaic of those that it serves. So we do this through leadership training, professional development, scholarship and internship funding, political advocacy, partnership building, and networking opportunities. COMTO is made up of a vibrant network of 3,000 transportation officials or transportation professionals across 40 chapters in North America. And our COMTO members represent modes, different transportation modes, and fall into one of these categories. So private sector, transportation agencies, nonprofits, academic institutions, small businesses, individuals, and students. So again, our COMTO members come from a variety of backgrounds, ethnicities, and lived experiences. And as I just mentioned, one of the categories you see on the list is students, of course. And also, as it relates to the workshop yesterday, focused on entrepreneurial leadership, we have a small business members as well. So, as you're a member of COMTO, you are able to network with and learn from kind of people that come from all of these different areas. And just to plug is that student membership is free. So just throwing that out there if you're not already a member. And two quick student-related COMTO programs I want to mention is our city internship program that has been around for 21 years. It provides undergraduate and graduate students with a unique paid opportunity to gain professional and practical experience in the transportation industry. And through that program, we seek to prepare the best and the brightest to become leaders, decision makers, and change agents in transportation. And we also have our National Scholarship Program. Again, this is open to undergraduate and graduate students. And we've been able to provide scholarships ranging from $1,000 to $6,000. So again, that was just my quick shameless plug early in the presentation about COMTO. But if you are not a member of COMTO, I highly recommend you joining. And again, as I said, it's free. So you have nothing to lose and kind of everything to gain. So now, Kamal did a great job of my bio, and now you know a little bit about COMTO. So as our focus of the conversation today is on leadership legacy, I want to take a moment just to talk about, kind of how I got here, because I believe that all of us, where you come from and all the things you experience along the way have helped me personally develop into the leader that I am today. And I like to use this picture because it shows someone headed down a road with many directions they could take. And this is a great representation of life. We may start out thinking that life is a straight line, but soon we find out that it is much more of a winding road that perhaps has some unexpected twists and turns. So your life journey, your leadership journey, kind of all of that, is not necessarily going to be a straight line. So to tell you a little bit about my story and kind of and where I came from and how I got to where I am. So I grew up in a small town, what was then a small town called Bowie, Maryland. It's right outside of Washington, D.C. And although I grew up in Bowie, my family roots are in North Carolina, which I know is where some of you are located, right in Wilson, North Carolina, is where my family is. So I have one younger sister, so it's just the two of us, kind of in this small town with my parents. After high school, I decided to attend Ecker College in St. Petersburg, Florida. I was a first-generation college student. So my mom had an associate's degree, which she completed when I was about 5 years old, and my dad never attended college at all. So this was a big deal. I went away to Florida wanting to be a marine biologist. However, organic chemistry too kind of changed all that for me. I ended up graduating with a degree in international business and Russian studies. And while I was at college, I had various roles, which some of you are probably at. You're president of clubs, you're part of student government, I got the chance to travel abroad. But this is where kind of my career and my leadership journey started. And now I said, after, not necessarily a straight path. Early in my career, I worked in higher education. I worked in nonprofits until I finally kind of found my place in county government. And I first worked in the county executive's office of community partnerships. I loved it. I felt like I was doing good work. I was helping the residents and the youth of the county. While I was there, I was able to create programs for at-risk middle school youth, expanded attendance at county-sponsored events, was able to engage with hundreds of nonprofits, public agencies, and schools to connect them to resources and goods. But at that same time, kind of parallel to that, the neighborhood I grew up in was growing. As I said, it was smaller, but as everything, it was growing and it was changing. And my mom was very involved in the politics and the developments happening in the city. So she and I would always talk about kind of the proposed development projects, the changing demographics. And at one point, there was a plan to bring a Walmart to the area. So you know how big that was when they first started, building Walmarts. And as things moved, I was fascinated with the process. I didn't understand it all then, but it seemed to me that the city and the county, they weren't doing a good job of including the community in the process. I didn't feel like people were getting the information. They weren't knowing when like these meetings were happening in the middle of the day, like how are people supposed to attend them? And my experience working with the nonprofits, agencies, and community members through my job, I heard the same thing. That it was the same story. People were not getting information. They were being left out. and not just about planning or development, but about other things as well. So I thought, like, how does this even happen? How is this okay? Like, whose job is it to make sure that everyone's voice is heard? And so that's what brought me to attend Morgan State University for my master's in city and regional planning. And so this began kind of the second phase, I would say, of my career and leadership journey. And so throughout the early part of my journey, I had no concept of what leadership legacy meant. Like, what was that? I don't even know that I was familiar with the term. So the only thing I knew was that I was doing my job to the best of my ability, developing programs and processes that would help internally as an organization, but also help the larger community. And so when I finished my master's, I got a job with, or I stayed in the county government, but moved from the county executive's office to the Department of Transportation in traffic engineering. And I managed the Safe Routes to School program. So this meant working with the hundreds of schools that were in the county and helping them focus on pedestrian bicycle education, infrastructure, and enforcement. So during my tenure there, Vision Zero came out. And for those of you who are not familiar, Vision Zero is a movement to eliminate all serious and fatal injury crashes from our roadways. And our county at that time was the first county to adopt Vision Zero anywhere in the country, first county to do it. So I thought, well, if the county is now having this truly focused effort and dedicated funds to kind of this vision and goal to support ped bike infrastructure, then students should have a voice in it, because the students are the ones that are using our sidewalks, riding their bikes, getting to and from school, from parks, from the mall, where kids are going. So I created this Vision Zero Youth Ambassador Program. And the goal of the program was to equip young adults to be the next generation of traffic safety leaders in the community. And so we were able to educate high school students about traffic safety and the importance of roadway design, law enforcement, and education to achieve the goal of Vision Zero. So I left my county position in 2019, and this program, the Vision Zero Youth Ambassador Program, still exists and has even expanded because it was received so well. And after I left, I was even asked to come back to talk about it to make sure, things were still running. So kind of like a consultant in a way. So again, I was just doing my job, not knowing that this was really kind of leaving a bit of a legacy. So the work that I did while I was there ultimately is what led to my job at COMTO today, through the relationships that I built and the work that I had done. So that's a little bit about my journey and kind of how I made it. And again, not a straight path, dibbled and dabbled in different things until I kind of found my way. But still growing, still evolving. So let's get back to this term of legacy. So again, like I said, not necessarily thinking about legacy, but probably more so thinking about having a good reputation. Perhaps like me, you come from families or people around you that you're raised to be considered how to be conscious of your reputation and how people perceive you. But what I've come to learn is that reputation and legacy are two different things. I was listening to a leadership podcast with John Maxwell, and they said, reputation is what people think about you currently, and legacy is what people associate with you or your name ultimately. So legacy is what we leave behind. No matter what stage of life you're in, and no matter what stage of leadership you're in, you're actually building your legacy, whether you realize it or not, and whether you're intentional with it or not. So that really stuck with me. So as we kind of get into this conversation a little further with legacy, who has left a legacy for you? Put it in the chat. Think of it. Could be someone famous, could be a family member, could be a professor, school staff. But when you think of legacy, who do you think of? Your father, professor, your parents, dad, Jesus. Yep, dad. That's awesome. So yeah, so these are the people that leave God, great, that leave an imprint, right? So So let's start to define kind of leadership legacy. But one person, before we get into that, one person for me, that's actually also related to transportation is Bessie Coleman. And she might be considered kind of unconventional leadership to some, but Bessie Coleman was the first African-American and Native American woman to earn a pilot's license, which was a groundbreaking achievement in the early 20th century, both when both racial and gender barriers prevented many from pursuing careers in aviation. But how did she do it? When no aviation school in the United States would offer her admission, you know what she did? She didn't give up. She learned French, she saved money, she traveled to France and attended the most famous flight school. And she was the only student of color in her class. So she earned her international pilot's license and became the first Black woman to do so. But also, what's great about Bessie is she used her platform to challenge racial discrimination, refusing to perform at events that barred Black audiences from attending. And although she tragically died in 1926, her influence remained. So she inspired later aviation pioneers, including the Tuskegee Airmen, who broke barriers in military aviation during World War II. So again, it's the impact, and we'll talk a little bit getting into the advocacy, but this is, part of it. So getting into defining leadership legacy. Your leadership legacy is how your colleagues, your staff, the people around you think, feel, and behave as a result of the time that they've spent with you. So it's what you create and how you live that influences how people react, how they relate, and how they respond to one another, to problems and opportunities, to both successes and setbacks, to change, to the unknown, and to the next new thing. So it's not about image, it's not about titles, it's about taking initiative. It's about you becoming a role model to others and the impact you leave on them. And also, again, understanding that legacy is not bound by age or time, but it really represents your body of work at each stage of your career and at each stage of your personal growth. So your legacy will continue to grow with each new life experience that you have. And leaving a legacy also requires you to share your experiences with others, because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we do better. So that's all a part of kind of being a successful leader and leaving that legacy. So as you hear stories and may read more about leadership as you kind of continue on your journey, there are certain themes and concepts that I think that are always part of it. So I wanted to share with you a legacy leadership model that I became familiar with a few years ago that I think does a good job of encompassing the traits of a consistent, successful leader. So this model has 5 practices of legacy leadership and was developed by an organization called CoachWorks International. And this is an organization that works with and partners with executives to kind of help them optimize their leadership performance. So again, it's 5 practices. So the first practice is holder of vision and values. So this first practice is really about how leaders should consistently reinforce the importance of the organization's vision and values. It's also about identifying your own personal values and being intentional about modeling them, guiding principles. You're walking the walk, you're talking the talk in everything you do with everyone you come across. So the leadership is about action. It's being able to also effectively communicate and have a well-defined strategic plan for accomplishing the vision. And doing those things, being able to communicate, will naturally help to develop others. Practice 2 is a creative collaboration and innovation. So to create collaboration and innovation within an organization, the legacy leader ensures kind of high levels of trust, develops the process for capturing innovation, and encourages a team spirit that challenges a new thought without boundaries. So this practice is about creating opportunities and a learning, trusting environment where collaboration and innovation can flourish. Practice 3, inspiration and leadership. So this practice is about making connections with people because that's at the heart of it. It's being able to influence and inspire and create positive relationships. It's about demonstrating the high levels of emotional intelligence, bringing out the best in people, but also as a leader, sometimes having to make tough decisions that you hope you can make the decision and minimally impact the people involved. But this practice is about leaders helping to make their teams also more adaptable to organizational changes. And here again is where effective communication is key, because with this practice, it helps your team stay flexible and resilient without losing the vision. And remember, people have to trust the messenger before they'll trust the message. So this again is how you learn to develop relationships and connect with people. And this is related to also extending your networking. Building relationships strengthens your influence and expands your opportunities. Practice 4 is the advocator of differences and community. So this practice really emphasizes the value of diversity and inclusivity in leadership. Leaders understand the value in varying perspectives and abilities. So these leaders work to promote understanding and unity in different teams. So this serves to generate a team building environment that tears down those personal departmental walls. We've heard like everybody's working in a silo, nobody's working together. Like this works to break that down and to really fabricate a healthy culture that's based on understanding the community strength and ultimately the success afforded in the differences. For example, like at COMTO, one of the things we stress, and I mentioned it earlier, that we stress is we advocate to ensure transportation leadership reflects the mosaic of the communities it serves, right? So for example, if you're a person at an agency that is responsible for like citing bus stops, where should we put the bus stops? Well, if you've never ridden a bus, how helpful are you going to be in certain communities, right? So the importance of having people around you or team and working with people that maybe do have that experience, listening to other voices. So really just, again, valuing people's different perspectives and the cross-functional work that can happen. And the last practice is responsibility and accountability. And this, I think, is a big one, especially as you grow to positions where you're leading people and overseeing people, managing people, directing people. So this is about execution and performance measured against kind of the vision and values. So it's not about discipline or punishment or pointing fingers. This practice really is ensuring that everyone, the whole community, has ownership of the process and therefore is wholly accountable for the progress made during the process. So this allows leaders to help guide individuals to contribute to their very best to the process and share results. So in my current role, and also when I served as chief of staff, each of my employees had a set annual goals. And we were very clear about the goals right at the beginning. What are we all working towards? What is your role in that? And how does it fit into the organization? So, and I'm a huge fan, and we check in on those goals monthly. Like I'm a huge fan of being transparent and clear. And my CEO always says, she says, clear is kind. And it is, because really there should be no surprises. You should provide regular feedback so that people know where they stand. But it also gives you as the leader a chance to help course correct and adjust if circumstances or priorities change. You can help along the way. So somebody is just not left to, be on their own. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh, you did that wrong. Well, okay, I didn't know. So again, it's just a way to keep everybody accountable, everybody on the same thing. So that's kind of responsibility and accountability. So now let's shift a little bit to the role and foundation of advocacy and strategic initiatives and how that plays into leadership legacy. And some of the things related to both of those have already kind of been touched on in pieces, whether it's about Bessie Coleman and how she used her platform to advocate against racial discrimination, or some of the strategic planning and strategic goals initiatives that were part of the 5 practices. So again, advocacy, critical part of leadership, because it allows leaders to actively champion causes, represent the needs of their team or of the community, and influence decision-making processes and really drive positive change by speaking up for others, ultimately fostering a culture of support and empowerment within an organization or a group. So it allows a leader to use communication, influence, and persuasion to promote a particular viewpoint and encourage others to take the action. So what does that look like? That could look like a manager advocating for a team member's career development by highlighting their strengths and potential to senior leadership. That could mean a CEO advocating for environmentally sustainable practices within their company, or it could mean a community leader advocating for better access to healthcare services for marginalized populations. So overall, though, advocacy is a cornerstone of effective leadership. So it just, again, it allows leaders to champion a vision, drive positive change, and inspire action. And so by actively doing that and advocating for your ideas, your values, remember I said, it's about your personal values as well, and goals, you can really create a lasting impact. You can help motivate your teams, foster innovation, and just really build strong relationships. And also by doing this, it also gives other people a sense of purpose, a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning, because they know that you are advocating on their behalf. And then for strategic initiatives, that also plays a crucial role in kind of leaving a legacy by enabling individuals or organizations to proactively plan and execute long-term goals that create a lasting impact, ensuring that their
Oh, that's the
contribution
Columbia VA Healthcare Center. Calm to speak to.
values are remembered and carried forward even after their departure. So that's often through initiatives that foster positive change, develop future leaders, and contribute to a greater societal good. So some of these I added here some examples of some strategic initiatives that help folks build a legacy. Maybe philanthropic giving. You're establishing, whether you establish your own charitable foundation, or perhaps you're in a position to target giving programs that more align with your personal values. Development of mentorship programs that's actively nurturing and guiding the development of younger professionals. Innovation initiatives, whether that's driving research and development efforts to create impactful solutions in a specific field. It could be community development projects, investing in local initiatives to improve social conditions and quality of life for people, or sustainability initiatives like implementing environmentally conscious practices within a business or an organization. So those are just different examples. And then one last thing I want to mention about impact as an example is the work we do at COMTO is when we're talking about impact, we believe that we're stronger together with like-minded professionals. Strong leaders and teams don't stand alone. They support and they uplift one another. Because change doesn't happen in isolation. One voice can start a movement, but many voices together create a force that can't be ignored. So whether it's in transportation, professional leadership, collective action really amplifies impact. So just throwing out, these are some associations that we work with either at the national level or at our local chapter levels, just to combine, resources, efforts to really have a more collective impact in the transportation space. So in essence, strong leadership legacy, what does it do? It leaves a positive and enduring mark. It fosters a culture of excellence, integrity, and continuous improvement. It inspires and empowers others to carry on the work, and it creates a lasting impact far beyond the time that you're there. So again, it's what you leave, but also you are building it, remembering that you are building it as you go and as you go through all of your experiences. So with that, before we wrap up, I just want to do a quick exercise. So as we talked about the storytelling, everyone has a story, you have a journey. Your stories can help inspire people, can help educate people. So one way to do that is through a 6-word story. So we're going to think about what we do, your 6-word story about leadership, right? So Ernest Hemingway, he is the one who created the 6-word story. And someone bet him that he could not come up with a story with only 6 words. So the success of this lies in the questions and possible meanings that lie behind the lines. So in his for sale, baby shoes never used, why are they selling the shoes? Is the baby grown? Did the baby die? Did the baby just go barefoot? Or maybe the baby was never ever to walk. So the story exudes many emotions, but you kind of get the feel for it depending. So it's like a micro story, a string of 6 words that tells a complete story. But it has, even though short, it has a beginning, middle, and an end. So it seems simple enough. But when you start to think about it, there are some unique challenges because you do have so few words. So today we're going to think about what would your 6-word story be about your leadership? Right where you are now, what would it be? It could be forward-looking, could be, you can decide on your own. So to give you some examples, here are some examples. No longer renting, owning my mistakes. That's one big thing as a leader. Being connected with purpose, relationships, and love. Creatively engaging the community and beyond. Written off, writing myself back in. Connection is crucial for satisfaction. So again, as you think about what your leadership story might be, think about what you value, think about what inspires you, and what words you might use to describe an ideal leader. So as you think about your 6 words in your story, be specific, be honest, write like you talk, experiment with the structure, but tell a story, but ultimately be yourself. And the be yourself part is, I think, another key part of being a leader. It's being your authentic self. So let's just take a few minutes perhaps, and then if you are quick with it, put it in the chat. Put your story in the chat and we'll share, but we'll take just a couple minutes to do that. I made mistakes. It is okay. It's awesome. Whispers of doubt, roars of triumph. Love it. Alone at first, followed by many. Awesome. Learning to learn and give back. While people are still thinking, anyone that has put theirs into the chat, do you want to come off mute and explain why yours, the meaning behind your 6-word story? Is anybody willing to come off mute?
So, hi everyone. My name is Tu-Hong Wen. I was the one who put out. I made mistake. It is okay. I guess it's a little bit of a reminder, because very, very often I beat myself up for anything from taking the wrong turns to having a mistake in an email to the silliest haircut, right? Like anything. I would just beat myself, and I realized that nothing is permanent. The hair will grow out. If I make a wrong turn, I can still make a U-turn. If I mistake, I can still rewrite and say, oops, I meant this, not that. And that's it. I'm just allowing myself to be okay and hold myself accountable to the mistake for sure. But it's okay. So that's fine.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. And I think that, to your point, to it, like that is a part of your leadership journey and a part of your personal growth. It is making mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. I remember even in a work environment when I was with the Office of Community Partnerships, we had to send out this mailing to like 400 people. And it was my responsibility for the mailing. And we had labels, we had to put all the labels on all of the things. We got them back from the mailer, and I realized there was something wrong on the label. So this was supposed to go out to 400 people. I didn't want to tell my boss. I was so scared. Like, oh my gosh, I did this wrong. But what I came up with a solution on my own, and I sat and I cut out these little strips with the right information and pasted them over all 300 of those letters. And then I went to my boss and was like, okay, I made this mistake, but here's how I fixed it. And she was so thankful. It wasn't a bad thing. She was like, oh, okay, well, that's great. So, you know, sometimes when we come across things and we're making mistakes, it's really not as big of a deal as we think it is. So it's all a part of the learning, you're learning and you're growing. Anyone else? See integrity and accountability at all times. Struggling self accompanied the wise self. Miranda?
Yeah, mine was the integrity and accountability at all times. And that's just something that I personally operate by. I'm not one for trying to hide behind my mistakes. If I make a mistake, I own up to it.
Yep.
And that is something that I find to be something that I'm passionate about in terms of people that I work with.
Yeah.
So I'm very picky in terms of the groups that I associate myself with, because those are two things that I myself operate by and do not want to slack in terms of being accountable to the things that I have promised that I would do,
Yeah.
as well as being honest about what I have done, whether it was positive or negative.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. And again, as I said, that's your personal values. You align them with who you spend time with, where you choose to support, all of those things. So that's great. Thank you for sharing, Miranda.
Thank you.
I see there's beauty in the struggle. That's definitely for sure. A mix of successes and setbacks. Awesome. So does anyone else want to share before we wrap up? Okay. Well, I thank you all. Just to show this is my information, please stay in touch, either through the COMTO website, my email, but also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So any questions? I guess, Kamal, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Kirby. It was very insightful and there was a lot of learning that we gained today. And it was like, I really like the exercise of thinking like our story in 6 words, like what we are, like what's kind of like a purpose of our life, or like, I mean, it actually helped us to actually stop, wait, think, like what we
Yep,
are heading towards. It's a great
absolutely.
exercise. Thank you so much. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone, if has any questions to Ms. Kirby, please feel free to unmute and ask, or like put it in the chat. Yeah. Sure.
The internship, I had just heard about it from this uh, event. Do you know when the application is due for it?
The internships close the next week, the end of
Okay.
next week. Yep. So
Okay, thank you.
please feel free to reach out or go to our website and look at the internship. But you can also, I'm going to put my email in the chat for everyone. Please feel free to email me. Since if you haven't heard about it, if today is your first time hearing about it and you still want to apply but are not sure that you can make the 28th deadline, send me an email. We can give you I'm fine to extend it a few more days for you. So just let me know.
Great. That would be really great for all the students. Yeah. Thanks. So there's a question in the chat by Dr. Pandey. So he's asking, how might you differentiate legacy from a brand? Or might the latter be more related to reputation, as you talked about?
So I think that brand is probably, in my opinion, I think again, probably more related to reputation. I think that regardless, some people will connect the person, maybe sometimes separate from the brand even at times, because it's the person behind the brand. It's the person that they are more closely believing the thing that they're saying or doing or selling or being. So I would probably say they are kind of two different things, but very closely related.
Thanks. Ms. Kirby, I had a question. Like, as you were telling that, you have like a collaboration with like ITE and some other organizations, and you work with them. So I was thinking, like, when, say, for example, if students, join your team, so like, what kind of activities or what kind of work or role like is given to the students, and even like, in your team, like, how do you I mean, like contribute with the organizations that you're collaborating with? I mean, if you can give some idea about that.
Sure. So it works a little differently depending upon where you're located. So all of our chapters, because we have 40 different chapters across North America, so each of the chapters work differently. So we have a lot of our chapters that will do joint events. So they may have a joint event with NSBE. It might be COMTO and NSBE, a professional development seminar, or a COMTO and SWE webinar or event or something like that. So it just depends on the chapter and kind of how they're involved. But each chapter does have student members. So students can be a part of committees. So helping to plan those types of events, helping with membership, helping, kind of wherever you feel your skill is. And that's another way to kind of develop leadership skills, is to join committees, join local committees. At some point, you have opportunities to join national committees. And that gives you some exposure and experience as well. But students within their chapter, because once you become a member of COMTO, then we kind of connect you to the chapter that's closest to you. And you can change chapters. You're kind of a member of COMTO as a whole and connected to the one that's closest to you. But if you are really from Tennessee, but now you're at school in North Carolina, you can connect with the North Carolina chapter while you're there. But then when you go back home to Tennessee, you can just connect with that chapter as well. So there's no strict like boundaries or guidelines. So students can get involved with anything that the chapter is doing: events, professional development, trainings. We also have our national conference that this year will happen in New York City, where we have student track a little bit somewhat, and student opportunities there. But it's really, COMTO as an organization, very similar to the others, it's just a great way to network, gain skills, and meet people and come across different opportunities that you may not have before.
That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Any questions? Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, so I would like to take a moment here to thank you for giving your time and effort. We really appreciate it. And I would also like to especially mention Dr. McBride, who has actually helped us connect with you. And also, I missed like in the last session, even like with our previous speaker, Mr. Foreman, like Dr. McBride really helped us a lot to get connected. So thank you so much. And now I would like Dr. McBride, Dr. Karimodni, and Dr. Richardson, if you would like to say any few words about the session before we close.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm on a different device, so I can't share my video right now. But this was definitely a very valuable presentation. I appreciate you for being able to make the connections, Ms. Kirby, and to be able to accommodate our schedules, because I know we kind of had to make sure that we placed this session in a time where we could get several of our students to be able to participate. But the efforts that's been put in by the team, such as Kamal and the rest of the SLC, has been very valuable. I think the sessions that they have put together I'm hoping are meaningful to their development and the things that they are striving to accomplish in their careers, academically as well as professionally, once they graduate. So that's one of the main tenets of this particular organization within our center. So the Center for Advanced Transportation Mobility, for any of those who are not directly connected to the center. We are a university transportation center that is funded by our U.S. Department of Transportation. And one of our primary areas of focus is on rural transportation, because we know there's a lot of research that's done in the urban areas, but our rural communities need some attention as well. So we are trying to make sure that with all the advanced technologies in transportation that are being developed, that they are not disregarded in terms of their needs as well. So this particular group, the Student Leadership Council, we wanted to make sure that our students had a say in some of the research and the work that was being done within the center, and to be able to provide programs that they know would be beneficial for them. So this was their first effort, and I think it has been successful and will continue to be successful because the leaders who are working have shown that they are dedicated to their education and the education of others as well. So I want to commend them as well for the work that they put into this whole week's worth of programming.
Thank you so much, Dr. McBride, for your encouraging and kind words. I would like now if Basit, our chair of SLC, could say the closing remarks. Until then, I can share the attendance sheet with everyone to sign up for the attendance for this session. Thank you so much for everyone for your time and efforts and support. Thanks a lot.
So thank you all for being part of this section. And I truly want to also appreciate Ms. Kirby for sharing the valuable insights on leadership legacy. I think one of my own personal key takeaways, leadership is not even about the position we hold today. It's actually the lasting impact that we leave behind, and that's actually resonates with some part of me personally. So I really, really appreciate your presentation. So, and then I also want to appreciate everyone for their engagement, and then for the fact that they're able to come today and join us. We know the weather, it's not really good. And also we also even plan to have our in-person session, and we need to move it online. And then we really appreciate the fact that you are still able to come online. So once again, I also want to thank you all for joining. And then we look forward to seeing you at our next event as we continue to learn and grow together. Stay safe and have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ms.
Thank you,
Kirby.
everyone.
Thank you.